Co-founder, there's a lot of news in Rhode Island today. Governor McKee hasn't made it official, and it is Sabina Matos is his nominee to serve as his replacement as Lieutenant Governor of the state of Rhode Island. Sabina Matos is the president of the Providence City Council. She has to be confirmed up at the legislature, but she would be the Lieutenant Governor for the next 20 months. She would be only the second female lieutenant governor to the state after Elizabeth Roberts, who served before Dan McKee. So much on that. You can see the video, you can see everything on Go Local. Also, in the world of real estate, there is an update on the 8 years of vacancy at the Superman building. One commenter on Facebook said it's time for the annual Superman story. Yes, it is. And many more. It is the tallest building in the state of Rhode Island, and its vacancy has been a blight on the financial district, a real concern for business owners and those trying to develop downtown. Let's go to our friend Kim Marion. She's with Mott & Chase Sotheby's International. She joined, this is her second time around, a few more, and she gets like one of those jackets on Saturday Night Live that Tom Hanks and others get. But we're glad to have her back. Kim, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Josh. I'm super excited to be back.
Yeah, this is big. This is big. Let's talk about the insane, and it is now insane, certifiably insane world of real estate. CNN Business has a story about a house outside of Washington, D.C., low price, $275,000, total fixer-upper. It got 88 offers, 76 of them, I believe, were cash offers. It sold for 70% above asking price. So this phenomenon is not unique just to Rhode Island. It's happening all over the country. How crazy is it right now?
It's happening to me and my clients. I can tell you without giving away any particulars, we put in an offer just last week, $85,000 over asking with a waived inspection. And as we talked about before, waiving inspection means you don't have one at all. And we also waived the appraisal contingency, and we were outbid, and it was super unfortunate. But my buyers were prepped by me to know that it may take 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 tries to find just the right place and win the bid. And we are optimistically moving forward. We're going to find them something for sure. That was kind of a blow.
Well, think about that house in Washington, D.C., outside of Washington, D.C., 87 unhappy bidders, right? I mean, we're not talking about 5 or 6. We're talking about 87 that walked away homeless, shall we say. Let's go to sort of the dynamic, because it is getting very dynamic, and you do need good counsel. And you've kind of broken down, the factors that people should look for when they're trying to navigate and purchase something in this incredibly complex and very, very competitive environment, who they should work with. So talk a little bit about who's that person, what are the issues that need to get worked out? And for a lot of these, these are complex business issues that buyers need to understand about the marketplace now.
Right. So you just nailed one of the top comments that I was going to mention, and that is, as agents, we aren't selling a house. That's the easy part. We are managing very complex contracts that people don't see all the time. And so working with someone that I have a bunch of tips that I'm going to share, but off the top of my head, just because you brought me here, feeling comfortable and being able to communicate with them is probably the number one tip that I would give you. You want to be working with someone that when you sit down to interview them, that's my number one tip. Interview more than one agent. People, a lot of times they go to an open house, they meet someone, that could be a great agent, absolutely someone to work with. I feel like the best thing to do when you're going to put your hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in the hands of a professional, you should spend the time to talk to them a little bit and ask them some questions. So one of the questions I would say to start with is ask about their experience. It seems obvious, but in this market, with it being so hot and so houses selling so fast, you can imagine that there are a lot of new agents in the market, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. Everybody was a new something or other when they started whatever they started. So if you meet someone and you really like them and they say, my experience is that I've been an agent for 6 months and you really like them and they're energetic, as many and most new agents are, and they're really excited, I would say to ask them a couple of questions. Ask them if they have someone in their office that's a mentor. Ask them if they have someone that is going to be looking over paperwork just to make sure. And you might even ask a few questions like, do you know the difference between waiving a mortgage contingency or waiving an inspection? That's a good one. Do you know the difference between waiving an inspection and having an inspection for buyer's information only? If you pick someone that doesn't know the difference, you can make a very big, expensive mistake when you go to buy a house. So there are a lot of questions you can ask. Have they?
I want to jump in here.
Yeah.
This is mammothly important to people's wealth, right? In the era in one of these situations, you think about it, of all your assets that you accumulate, unless you're a member of the British royal family or inheriting tons of money, but if you're earning your own money and earning your own way, you're going to, when you buy a house, make the biggest purchase in all likelihood, 99 times out of 100, that you've ever made. And it's also going to be a key part of your assets into your retirement, right? You're going to sell it at some point or transfer it or do something with it, and it's going to be a key element. You don't want to make a $750,000 error.
That's right. And so working with someone who, obviously, I want to say work with a seasoned agent in this incredibly challenging market, complicated contracts and writing offers so that there are little tricks to the trade. We covered some last time, but there are things that new agents would need a little support with, and maybe they have it. So I'm not knocking a new agent, and I'm also supporting seasoned agents that have the experience to know really how to win or try to win you a house in this market.
What are some of the other issues? Talk about, those elements that can really make or break a deal from a standpoint of me, the buyer. You're representing me. What else do I need to know?
So I want to know, when I work with someone, I want to know, and I think they should also ask me, how are we going to communicate? What is the expectation that I have? If I text you at 2 p.m, are you going to get back to me at 2:05? Or are you going to get back to me at 4 o'clock? How many buyers and how many listings do you have? How many buyers are you working with? How do you like to communicate? Because if I'm a texter and you're a person that really wants to hear my voice and have all of the details, spoken word, I want to know that so that I have a happy customer in the end. I always tell my clients, if you text me and you don't hear back from me in 5 minutes, call 911. Something happened. Something happened. Save me. But some clients actually don't necessarily need or want that. They like something a little more laid back, and they say, it's fine. You get back to me when you can, and I'm okay with that. So I'll roll with that. But you want to talk to your agent so that that person can meet your needs the way that you need them to be met, and that's going to make you have confidence going forward. Another super important one is, how are you going to be paid? And this seems so simple because you go into a purchase assuming that the seller of the property has made an agreement with their listing agent that they're going to sell the property at 3%, for instance. And then that 3% typically is divided between the buyer's agent and the listing agent. That's pretty standard. That's what we do here. That's what many brokerages do. However, not asking this question, you could sign a paper that says, on top of that 3%, the buyer's agent that you're working for will be asking for you to pay an additional 2 or 3 or a flat fee. So it's really important, if you're going to work with someone and they're going to be your buyer's agent, and I'm not judging whether that's one thing or another, it is the way that some people work and it works for them. But you want to know, if you're paying them out of your pocket, you want to know, do I want to actually pay an additional amount on top of what is being given through just the purchase paid for by the listing agent? People always say the listing agent pays the commissions. So ask the question of the person that you're interviewing. How do you get paid? Is there an additional fee as my buyer's agent that I should expect, so that you are aware and you don't get surprised at the end with $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 or out of your pocket that you kind of thought, oh, I thought the commissions were split, and now I'm paying this money.
Yeah, listen, I heard an ad the other day from one of these, I'll call them real estate hustlers, who said, bring us your home, we'll make sure the buyer pays the real estate commissions.
Yeah.
What? When did that become the rule? And I would sure like to know that if I'm the buyer of one of those properties.
Exactly. So where your money's going to go, who's managing your contract right now, those are at the top of our list. But believe it or not, I have a couple of others that are pretty important. And one of them is about what happens in a conflict of interest. So what I mean by that is, if I'm your agent and Josh, you love a house and you want me to put in an offer for you. So we write up the offer, and then you don't know, but I have 2 other clients that I'm also representing, and I'm writing offers for them. You want to know, how do you handle, as my agent, an offer from me if you have another client that is also interested in this property? I would say that I have my office manager write up my other client's offer. I don't know what other agents say and do, and I'm not judging that either. Again, I think that as long as everything's above board and they maintain privacy for each client, it probably is fine. I think that you should ask that question. What if you're the listing agent? So what if I have a house on the market and I also have a buyer that I know is going to love this house? Well, that's a conflict of interest, because I know what my seller wants to sell it for, and I know what my buyer's willing to pay for it. What do? In that case, I take that buyer and I say, I represent the seller in this transaction. I can't give you buying advice. I can't run comps for you. I need to give you to another agent in my office, or again, if my office manager can manage that for me. My office manager can represent them. He can give them comps. He can tell them, this is what I would offer. In this area, I would expect, prices to go over in this range. I can't do that. It would be a conflict of interest for my client, my seller. So
yeah, that's a really important issue. It's got to be disclosure. And we, as a news organization, hear about situations from time to time in which folks agents didn't disclose that they had these dueling roles, and there's a potential conflict there. Should they give you like a $20 tip, like they're trying to get a good table at the Copacabana? I mean, is that the way to kind of handle that situation?
Well, I would never advocate for tips. I can't take money, but I absolutely would appreciate a referral. So I would say with regard to dual representation, I have had, I think, 2 clients in the past that have said, I understand you represent the seller. You are my agent. I trust you. I like you. I will let your office manager write up this offer. I will let your office manager give me advice. We won't ask you any of those questions, but I still want you to represent us in the transaction. And then I still have to have Ben, my office manager, make sure that everything is above board. And that can be tricky. So I always tell people, I would rather give you to Ben or another agent in my office that I know will take care of you and do the right thing by you and see you get the house you want. Because the issue as an agent is, obviously, it's profitable if you have the listing and the buyer. So I would rather make sure that my brokerage is protected and both of my clients are protected, and give that client to someone else in my office who can represent them and give them good advice.
Right.
Yeah.
And what else? I mean, I think what you hear from folks who are trying to buy homes is it's an incredibly frustrating process, right? You see a house, you call your realtor, literally they hit you back 3 hours later and say it's gone. How do you beat that cycle? How do you take advantage of at least be in a competitive situation and take advantage of your agent's knowledge of the marketplace?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think I mentioned it before, we have a system we use called Real Scout that is connected to the multiple listing service, the MLS. And when a house comes on the market, it is immediately sent to a client. So if I know that you're looking for a colonial in North Kingstown with 3 bedrooms and 2 baths and a pool, I can get that narrowed down. When that comes on the market, you'll get it within, I think it's within 24 hours for sure, but I think it's even sooner than that. That's really the only way to beat the rush in this market. We're going without a realtor, it's almost impossible, because by the time you see it on one of the commercial sites like Zillow and Realtor.com, it's already pending or under contract. Having an agent set up a search for you, it can be done in the MLS. It can be done with many of us have this Real Scout at Sotheby's, and you get those emails every morning, and it says, oh, this new property came on, you're gonna love it. You text me, I'm back to you in a minute. I'm on the phone with the listing agent. And there have been times, Josh, that I've had a client text me in the morning, we just got this email. I immediately reach out to the listing agent and they tell me, I'm all booked for showings on Saturday. This is like 8 o'clock in the morning, and the property came on in the middle of the night somewhere. And I can get you in on Sunday, or I'm begging for my client. Look, just give us like your last appointment.
Hey, pass that $20 along that you got for the good seat at the Copacabana. You know, I had kind of one last question, and then I'll turn it over to you. You know, in this environment, are there some folks who should, one, be jumping in as sellers? So supposedly the spring buying market starts on March 1st, right, and you've seen an increase in inventory, but not a crazy increase in inventory, as I understand where the trends are right now. Should there be some sellers who really start thinking about getting into this marketplace?
Yeah, I think so. I think that if you are thinking of selling in the next 3 to 5 years, maybe you want to downsize, maybe you're going to do half-time in Florida or somewhere else, and you're going to come back here and you're going to rent for the summer or something like that. If you're thinking, I don't know, maybe next year, maybe the year after, definitely if you're going to be in the next 3 to 5 years, it would be a shame to miss this market. And they would actually help the market. They would help us find our clients' houses, but it may also help normalize prices. You know, because as more properties come on, then this urgency and this demand and paying $100,000 over or more would subside some. But they will get the most that they're going to get for their house. And I know the thing that I hear from sellers that are speaking to me or potential sellers, where am I going to go?
Yeah.
And it's a question, and you can do a couple of things. You can make a contingency on your sale that says pending sellers finding a new home. So I'll sell my home to you. We'll make an agreement. I need 3 months or 6 months, or literally pending me finding my new home. That could work for you. Some people have rented, and the increase that they are going to get for their property is so substantial that renting for a year actually turns out not to put them at a deficit. They're still at a profit with that.
Yeah.
We could.
And let me just flip it around. Are there some buyers who should sit out this market because not only are they bidding over asking price, but the asking prices are so much higher? I mean, I look at real estate regularly. There's a house in the Fifth Ward in Newport. You know, I mean, I don't want to call it a shack, but it's not much above a shack, and it's $700,000, and I guarantee it'll be gone by the end of the weekend. I mean, it's kind of a crazy period of time.
Yeah, I just sold a little tiny cottage in Newport. I can't say because it's not closed, but it's substantially over. 2 bedroom, 1 bath. Adorable. But yeah, the Newport.
Yeah, this wasn't adorable. By the way, this had no adorability to it. It was just a house in the Fifth Ward.
Okay. Yes. So your question, I do think there are some people that might be better off holding. If you're at the top of your price range and it might be a struggle, I would say to wait. There's so much change happening right now, and if there's any possibility at all that you could lose your job or be downgraded or be reduced hours, anything like that, that is seriously think about making a big move like this. Unless you're going to sell what you have and maybe not buy something extremely expensive at the top of your range, because you don't want to have an unhappy life. And having a great house is what we all want. We want to be able to afford it and still do the things that matter to us. So if you're really close, or there's any risk that you think you might be downsized or downgraded in your employment, I would say to stay put and wait until prices adjust, and you might even make out better in the end.
Kim Marion from Mott and Chase, she knows it all. There was one other key element that buyers should look for in an agent. I think it was the name Kim, right? You should really work with people named Kim. Is that what I understand?
That goes by Kim. You know, she's
Yeah.
around. You're around. You're funny.
Kim Marion from Mott and Chase Sotheby's International, thank you as always. You are getting closer and closer to that Saturday Night Live velvet jacket, and we appreciate you taking the time to join us this week. For everybody else, we'll be back at 1:30 with Dr. Michael Fine. He has issued the warning really to public health folks here in Rhode Island that we really need to get restrictions back in place. Megan Ranney on CNN, all-star physician over at Brown University in Lifespan, she put out on CNN this morning that these governors are really putting the recovery in a difficult situation, and that restrictions should not be being lifted during this period of time while the variants continue to explode across the country. Cases are up in Rhode Island, hospitalizations are up. We really want to avoid that third major spike. Everybody be safe, wear your mask, stay out of the statistics that we have to read from every day, and keep your friends, your family, your coworkers, your business nice and safe. Stay healthy, everybody. Thanks.